What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Russ Mitchell, Homesick Buckeye. I'm back with another episode of Keto Conversations, where we bring you folks from all walks of life who've embraced ketogenic living and seen wonderful results. We want their stories to uplift you, motivate you, and keep you on the keto road with us. And if you're not on that keto road with us, we want you to get on the keto road with us. This week's guest is somebody that I really don't like very much, but she has no idea. It's my girl, Alia Wells. What's going on, Ollie? Oh, I
I
said
don't
it
like
out
you
loud,
either. My
didn't
my brother from another mother.
I? No, you know I love you to pieces. You're the best. For those who may not know, although you should know, if you don't know, shame on you. Ollie is one of the co-hosts on our Keto Cookout on Tuesdays at 9. She's a big part of the show. She's wonderful. I love working with her on that show. She's the best. So we kind of know each other a little bit. And it is not true at all that I don't like her. I like her very much.
He hired me, so he better like me.
There you go. There you go. Well, I don't know. Hi, yeah, pays great. Yeah, pay her so much. Yeah, there you go. So, there you
We're
go.
just
All
gonna
right.
laugh the whole stream, the whole broad. What is this interview?
Yeah, yeah. There you go. So this will be fun and interesting. So we're gonna start where we start with all of our guests. Where were you born, and what was your childhood like?
Oh wow, I had no idea that that was a question. I listened to
And
some interviews
yeah,
you did, and I
thank
don't
you for
remember that.
watching the
But
channel.
I
Yeah.
was born
Glad
in
you listen to
Evanston,
clearly,
Illinois.
you listen to
Evanston.
my
I
broadcast.
listen to a lot. I was born in Evanston, Illinois in 1983, and I had a lovely childhood with two very loving, caring parents. And I grew up in Chicago, about a mile away from Lake Michigan. And let's see, I loved hot dogs and French fries, and I was always a very chubby kid.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, Rachel, she is like a year and a half younger than me, and then the twins are a year and a half younger, more or less. We're all born within like 4 or 5 years. Crazy, my mom.
So okay, so you said Rachel was younger and then the twins are younger. So you're the oldest?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the oldest, and I look the
Oh.
youngest.
Yeah. Well, I'd hate to see the rest of the clan there. I don't know. If you look the youngest,
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
you take a lot of abuse from me. You take it very well, though. You're very good at taking abuse from me. I think
Only
you
you,
like
because
the
you do it so
attention. You like
nicely.
the attention from me. All right. So growing up as a kid, you said you had a happy childhood. Now I'm guessing it was the standard American diet.
Yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
guys ate. Your parents weren't into any kind of healthy kind of living or anything like that. They ate the same way you guys did, and just
yeah.
it's typical. I got your American diet.
Typical. Hmm. Yeah, and I don't think they thought anything like it was bad. I remember like my favorite night was Friday night. My dad would order Domino's, and that was
Yeah,
like family tradition. Friday night Domino's, and
yeah, yeah. That's
um,
right.
yeah, and I would ask my dad for $1 every day to go buy French fries. Then one day he was like, "I'm not giving you that dollar for the French fries," and I'm like, "I'll buy iced tea," and then I go and buy the French fries.
Okay, so you were a liar as a kid. You.
Also,
I love that. I love that. This is three
I
things for the liars.
yeah, but we're talking like ages like 1 to 10. Apparently, when I was like 3, I was like so convincing that I got my dad in the middle of winter in Chicago to take me to JJ Peppers, and there's like a snowstorm to buy me a bag of chips. And this, like, I was so convincing.
Or whiny. We just go
Yeah,
like,
probably, yeah, probably.
get the chips down.
Yeah, and now with my daughter, she's like a little mini me, so payback is a bleep.
Oh, I love that. All right. So you mentioned that you were a chubby kid.
Yeah.
Now, what age did that start? Like the chubbiness and that kind of
Oh
stuff. What
man.
what age was that?
My dad tells me the story of when I was 2, I was 50 pounds, and the doctor said you need to handle her weight. Now, that could be an exaggeration, but I think that's what it was. And I remember being 10 and like 4 foot nothing and being like 100 pounds. So
Mm.
then I hit like teenage years and I kind of stretched. And during my teenage years, I wasn't very fat. I don't like, of course, I thought I was because that's the image girls have. But between my teens and 20s, I was never as big as I was No.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Even though you have very weird images of yourself when you're not overweight. But chubby kid, normal, probably normal sized teenager, and into my 20s and even early 30s. Yeah.
Well, as a kid, like coming up in middle school and high school and stuff, did you play sports and stuff like that? Were you athletic?
No, mm-mm, nope, mm-mm.
What
I
did
played
you?
the class clown.
Okay, all right. You were silly. You were silly. No, I was going to ask you what kind of things you're into as a kid. Were you in the band? Were you in the chess club?
Oh
Were you in the
man.
drama club?
No, nothing. I was into video games and I wasted so many years of my life playing Super Mario Brothers. I'm
Super
like,
Mario. Okay, so you were Nintendo then. I was going to ask
yeah,
Nintendo,
yeah,
Atari
Nintendo.
around or any of that stuff
I was
in
born
there?
in '83, so I
Yeah,
was a
I was
kid
trying
in
to
the
think about
'90s.
'83. So that
Yeah,
was, yeah, it was Nintendo. Was yeah.
yeah.
I wasn't. I played video games when I was. Let me see. In '83, I was in eighth grade. Uh,
No.
yeah, yeah, I was in eighth grade because I graduated in 1987.
Oh wow.
And at that time, Atari was past. It was Nintendo, and then we went into more the computer games route. Like we had Commodore 64s and Amigas, and the PCs were just kind of getting started. And so there was Sega Genesis and
Oh yeah, Sonic.
other game systems. Um, but most of the games I played in high school and that were from computers. And of course,
Oh okay.
arcades were big back then too. You had arcades where you go play the games. It was like a quarter. You put a quarter in, and you could play, Galaga or you know Pac
Yeah.
Man, and those games were kind of big during that time. That is interesting. Okay, so we get into middle school and high school, but you said by high school time, you kinda had
I
thinned out.
didn't go to high school. I didn't go to high school.
Oh, you didn't
I
go to
finished
high
eighth
school.
grade.
Okay, so middle
No.
school. That's
Yeah, I was
interesting. So, what was the highest grade you went to? You went to
eighth
middle
grade. I
school?
graduated eighth grade. But I didn't do all years of school either. So let's go back to first grade for a second. Second grade.
Okay.
There I was either sent to like a school counselor or a psychologist or something like this, and my parents were very angry. Apparently, I was scheduled to go to the psychiatrist the next day because I was not good at math, or maybe I was too much of a class clown. You know how I am. And so my parents took me out of school, and they took my brothers and sisters out of the same school and put them in a different public school, but they got me a tutor.
Hmm. So you were
So
homeschooled.
I was homeschooled most of that time. So I basically did like only a couple years of school and I finished seventh and eighth grade, ironically, in the same school that they took me out of.
Oh,
Still a problem child? No, I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
joking. And
Imagine
then,
that.
yeah, imagine that. And then eighth grade, I was gonna. There was like a local high school that you can automatically go to. There was a special high school I was accepted into with 400 students, which is crazy in Chicago. It was like right next to where the Bulls Stadium. And then there was another high school that I got into, but me and my dad toured one of them, and then he saw like the little like gun detector thing and said, "Put your weapons in the box." He's like, "You're not going to high school." So yeah, I did homeschool.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I skipped kindergarten. When I was 5, I went right into first grade. I could have gone to
Mm,
second grade, but my parents thought that was just too much. Uh,
yeah.
too big of a jump. They didn't want their 5-year-old in with the 7-year-olds and all that. But yeah, I'm familiar. My sister homeschooled her kids. She has several kids. She homeschooled them and all that. So
Oh
yeah, that's
wow.
interesting. So what? So did you graduate when you were 18, or did you graduate early, or how did that work?
Yeah. So about graduation.
Oh, all right.
um, so basically, in my mind, since my dad took me out of school, I was purposely not going to graduate.
All right. Okay. I got you.
All the secrets are coming out. That's not his fault. It's really my fault. And often I've looked back and regret, like I wish I would have at least gotten the piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you're doing just fine. Just for that.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to early 20s. So by now, you're 2021. Where are you living now at this time of your life?
21. I think it was in San Francisco, California.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
At what
yeah.
at what age did you leave Chicago area?
Uh 16. I went to New York.
Okay, to New
I've
York.
been a free bird. I've been
I
a
love
free
that.
bird.
I
Yeah.
I love that. I've been around a little bit too.
Yeah.
So let's go back to 16. You went to New York. Now, you just
Yeah.
up and decided that's where I want to go, or did you have a plan? I mean, how does that
I
how
was
does that
doing some
work?
babysitting for a while. I was wanting to help a nonprofit organization, and yeah, that's basically what I did, helping nonprofits, working with nonprofits until I was like 30. And I can tell you all the places I've gone if you want to know.
Well, shit, that's
And my bad smoking habits that kept me skinny because I prefer to smoke a cigarette than eat.
okay. So the trip to or the New York move was work related.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, gotcha. So you went to New York to, because of your job.
yeah,
And so you said you went several places all with that
yeah.
same job?
Yeah, yeah. I
All right,
went to
okay.
LA. I hated LA, Los Angeles.
Yeah, can't blame you
I
for
liked
that.
my work. I loved San Francisco, but this is like 2004 to 2009, and it was apparently much nicer then. I loved San Francisco,
Yeah,
California. And then I wound up in Dallas, Texas,
okay.
Irving to be precise, and I loved Texas. And then I ended up in South America where I met my husband.
Gotcha. All this is with the same company,
Yeah, yeah,
like a non-for-profit. And
yeah.
what was the general
Uh,
business?
Like, have you heard of the book The Way to Happiness?
No.
Oh, okay. It's like a book. It explains
Heard
like
it's wonderful.
how to, precepts, 21 precepts of how to live. It's not denominational. It tells
Oh, so it's a
people cool
spiritual.
stuff. Yeah, but it doesn't conflict with anyone's religions. It's just, a
Got it.
common sense guide to live happier. And so I
Yeah.
really like that program. And even now I still not work related, I still help and work on that sometimes.
So it's kind of was like a book tour kind of thing, or just
Yeah,
more or less
we
you just went
distribute
around, you
books.
sold the
Also,
book
I
and
like
seminars
that.
around the book and that?
Yeah, and there's like other programs I worked with, like the Truth About Drugs, and let's see, it's kind of all under the same umbrella. And the truth, sorry, human rights, a human rights program, things like this,
Yeah,
education
yeah.
about that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so now during all this time, you're still eating standard American diet, or
Um,
were you
sometimes one time I did a crazy diet and I lost a ridiculous amount of weight and I just gained it back. I was always like worried about my weight but never smart enough to figure out that, hey, anytime I just did like the carnivore diet, I lost weight and I felt great.
okay?
Or
So
I never did it knowing it was called the carnivore diet, but there's been times I've done very low carb or keto and I would get to my ideal weight and then I would forget about it and go back to eating crappy. But
yeah,
better than when I was a kid for sure.
yeah, but that I guess that was my next question: is when did you first hear about just any type of ketogenic living of any type, and what centered around that?
I let's see. When I During my pregnancy with my daughter, I heard of Dr. Eric Berg. People were recommending him to me. Um, and before
How old were you when that was going on?
35 maybe,
Okay, so
34, 35.
this is well out of your
Yeah,
years that you were traveling around with the non for profit.
yeah,
During those years, you said 16 you were in New York, and then you went to LA and San Francisco and Dallas. So
yeah,
this was during your mid and late 20s, right? That you were
yeah.
doing all this.
That's right.
During
I
this
mean,
time, you were doing some type of keto,
so
or
on and off
anything
like
during that time,
crazy.
bouncing back and forth?
Yeah, kind of like bouncing back and forth and not really knowing what it was, just knowing that if I ate like meat and low everything else, I would lose weight. And that often really worked for me, but I didn't know that. I just got to like where I liked it and then I would just enter back in the other stuff that would just
No,
put the
but you
fat
don't
back
remember where you heard of even doing that, because that's a little odd,
on. Okay,
if you
so
were
when
just
I was
eating meat.
18 years old, my best friend at the time said we need to do this thing called the Atkins diet for a month.
Gotcha.
And we don't
There you go.
and yeah, that was where I heard of it. I was 18 years old and we're like, wow, and we got super skinny in
Yeah,
like a
that's
month.
where I first heard of it too, was around the year 2000,
That's right, around that time
that
period.
yep,
Yeah.
that I first heard of Atkins, and I just thought it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I mean, I'm like, "This is just nuts." I mean, you're gonna die. You can't do this and live. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you might lose
Yeah,
weight,
about
but you're also
I
gonna
think it's
lose
about
your life.
2001. I just did the math. 1983 plus 18,
Yeah,
19, something like this.
yeah, well,
Uh,
that's when, because he wrote a book, I think, in the in the early '90s that kind of gained popularity, and then I think he died in 1998. I wouldn't say
Okay.
that, but then
Yeah.
but by that time he had kind of built a following, and so it continued even after his death, the Atkins programs and that.
Yeah.
But I remember reading the book and that, and I just thinking, yeah, this is craziness. This is this is going to kill people. I mean, I just all the things that we hear today. I was like, this is a short term gain, for long term. You're trading your long term health for the
Yeah.
short term weight loss. It's like I don't want to do that. I want to do something I can sustain. So got it.
Hmm.
So you learned about Atkins, and then you, like you said, your girlfriends did that, and you did that off and on through your 20s and that. So
Yeah.
so now you're in Dallas, and you're how old by this time? That was your last stop before you left the country.
25 through 27 ish. And I think when I was 26, I did this crazy HGC diet to lose a lot of weight really fast. And that I think really would put me on the track to screw up my body.
Yeah. So now you're in, so what year did you so Texas was your last stop before you ended up in South America?
I think it was in LA for a couple years after that. And then in South America. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. So
Yeah.
now you're in South America, and you said you were 35 when you got there?
32, 32,
Gotcha.
I think.
And by this
19. All these math questions. I can't
yeah,
count.
just go through you weren't good at math. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry to
2015. Yeah, I remember I didn't graduate high school. I was 32.
Okay. All right. So you're 32, you're in South America now,
Yeah.
and tell me about where you're at with your health and your weight when you get to South America.
I was probably at least an okay weight. I was maybe like 150 pounds. I'm 5'4". Per everything I hear, I'm supposed to be like 120 with my height. But whatever. I didn't look bad. I looked healthy. I looked healthier than I mean, maybe I look healthier now because of how I was eating. I was on a diet of hamburgers and French fries, which were delicious. And somehow I
McDonald's diet?
managed. Yeah, in Bogota, they have like a really good place called El Corral, or at least it was really good before. Um, no, man, I would just eat and smoke and pizza. It was just like that was probably more closer to my standard American diet when I got here, and I did put on a little bit of weight.
Now, when did you
Uh,
start smoking?
oh, when I was the day before my 18th birthday. I'm a rebel.
Okay, all right. And did
I'm
your
a
parents
rebel.
smoke at all, or did you just
Yeah, they smoked all. My mom on
okay.
and off, my dad forever, and I loved the smell and
Hmm,
uh, but cigarettes. Let's be clear here. I smoke cigarettes. I've never smoked marijuana or done an illegal drug in my entire life, and I think
right,
that's why I look so young.
right. Who's telling you these lies? I don't understand. I smoked one joint in 1985.
Oh wow.
And yeah, that was yeah, just one. That's the only one. And I got drunk in 1987.
Okay.
Time, yeah, I was not a drinker. I was more of an
Oh,
eater.
that's good. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that it doesn't take much for me to learn. I had a traumatic experience. I smoked one joint, had like a near, almost got hit by a truck. No more.
Oh
I
wow,
got
that's
drunk in
crazy.
1987 and puked my guts out, and it was terrible. And I was hungover the next day. Never did it again.
Oh wow.
There's no education in the second kick of a mule.
Right.
That's what I heard someone say one time. Dr. Barry'd probably be proud if you heard that.
No education, the kick of mule. I love
Yeah,
that.
so it's like, I'm not doing that again, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not doing that again. So I, uh, I took one hit of a cigarette one time with a friend of mine. This is the craziest thing. I was probably 9 or 10 years old, and back in the old days, they had cigarette lighters in the cars that were actually for cigarette lighting. So it wasn't.
I remember those.
You do? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So you had now the cigarette lighters for powering things, it's about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody actually lights their cigarette in the cigarette lighter anymore. But you pushed in the little thing, and it would heat up, and it would pop out, and you'd have a red hot, coal or a coil, and you could
Right.
light a cigarette or light anything you wanted with it. And we were in the car, and there were some cigarette butts in there, and I was
Ew.
with a friend of mine, and he thought it would be cool to take one of those cigarette butts and light it and try to smoke it. And so he pulled out a cigarette, a half smoked cigarette, and straightened it out and pushed in the lighter. And he took a little puff. I don't know if he inhaled or not, because again, I was just a kid. And then he's like, "Here, you try it." And I took one puff and I coughed my lungs up. I mean, I coughed and hacked and hacked and hacked. It was the worst thing ever. And you know what this fool said to me?
What?
Do it again.
Yeah, that's the point. You got to do it the second time, and then you're hooked.
No, I don't. I
That's
said,
good.
"No way. I will never in life ever do that again. You're out of your mind. Do it again. I almost died." So, yeah. So that was one hit of a one hit of a cigarette, one joint, and one drunk. Yeah.
That's good.
There you go. So there's my life story. All right, so you started smoking when you were 18. Now, what kind of smoker were you? Were you like a
Oh, I
social?
became like an addicted smoker. Like
Really?
a
So, like, how many packs a day, like, were you smoking?
oh, maybe like one pack every 3 days, but that was still a lot. That's
I got
still a lot
you.
of money. That's
What was
like
your brand? Were you like with the Virginia Slims all
no, I was like I oh man, I went from Camels and for a while I was smoking Camel Straights and that's without the butt. And then I would smoke
unfiltered? Yeah.
American Spirits menthol. No, no,
I
American
guess I should have
Spirits.
known that, because you do eat like 7 pounds of beef a day. Yeah, so shame
I'm a
on
little
me for
extreme.
not even what am I like, are you kidding me? Marlboro Red. I guarantee you were like going hardcore. You were on the back of a horse and everything probably.
But let's think about this. Let's think about this for a second. 18, 17 years. I think I was smoking cigarettes for 17 years times 3 packs. Wait, 17 years. How many weeks is in 17 years?
Oh,
52.
52.
52, that's 844 times 5 times 3. I spent like $13,000, $20,000 on cigarettes over a 17-year period. Just
Yeah,
doing some basic math, probably a lot
that's
more.
nothing, because I mean, back then didn't cost nearly what they cost today.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh man, they're like 20
crazy.
bucks a pack now. Oh, that's
Yeah, it's
crazy.
crazy what I see people paying, or I hear about people paying that. All right, so you smoked for all those years, and that gotcha. So now you're in Colombia. You're
Yeah.
32 years old.
Yeah.
You're not super heavy, but you're smoking and you're living on burgers and fries. All right, I got you. I
And
got
what else am I? I mean, some other food in there also, but I ate a lot of burgers. They were so good. I mean, that was definitely a food in my life that is one of my favorite. I've
you.
graduated to steaks. I've
With the
matured.
bun, and yeah, with the bun. You
Yeah,
weren't
with
playing
the
around with
bun.
buns either. You were
Yeah,
knocking it
sorry.
out. Like, all right,
Yeah.
so at what point did you um, get to where you started making dietary changes?
Oh, okay. So, that's an interesting question. So I got pregnant in
Okay.
2015. So basically I was in my mind I wasn't going to have kids and then my now husband, he didn't want to have kids either and then, wasn't really love at first sight, but the love was there rapidly and both of us decided, "Hey, do you want to have a family?" And so I was very rapidly afterwards pregnant
There you
with
go. I didn't
with
want to have kids until next thing I know, we're having kids. I got you.
yeah.
I understand.
And
There's a
then
lot of folks that go through that. I get it.
yeah, but because also time is ticking. I'm 32 now, and
Yeah.
so uh, 32, pregnant, first baby, Jacob. I see the pregnancy tests, and I'm like, today's the day I quit smoking.
Yeah.
Today's the
Yeah.
day. So
Mm.
I don't. Maybe I had one cigarette or gave my pack away. I don't remember, but basically that was the day I quit. If maybe I had one more, and never smoked again. So I got two things going at the same time. So maybe at this point I'm a little bit chubbier living off the burgers.
Mhm.
But I don't really remember my weight because at that exact moment. But I'm pregnant and I quit smoking. So two things happen. I get pregnant and I quit smoking.
Right.
So I replace the cigarette motion because you do this. Somebody said like hundreds of times a day when you're
Yeah.
a smoker. So I replace that with food. and I got really big. I got up to like 200, maybe how I was when I started, 210 or 15 pounds. Just like,
Wow.
I think I gained 70 pounds in that pregnancy.
Yeah, so that's over a compact period of time, like 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, and I ate a lot. I ate a
Yeah,
lot. I probably shouldn't have. And my diet during that pregnancy was like hamburgers and french fries and fruit
yeah,
and some other stuff, but lots of hamburgers and lots of french fries, thinking, "Oh, it'll just come off so easy afterwards."
yeah.
So that is when the real I there was another time I got up to like 170, but I got back down to like 135, and I look very skinny if I'm 135, but this is when the real problems started, and all the hormonal changes,
Hmm.
and that's when I started not being so happy. I felt less happy. I wouldn't say I'm depressed, but when you're pregnant and then you have a baby and then you're nursing and then you're super overweight, you don't even your hormones are all screwed up. It's not the funnest time in your life.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
understand. So, tell me about, did you have any other health problems during that time, during the pregnancy? Was
Mm,
the pregnancy pretty easy?
the
And
pregnancy
then
was
again,
easy, but the labor was not. I never went into labor, and they did these procedures to get me to go in labor, and that didn't happen. And I'm curious if it was because of how terribly I was eating. I have no idea. Um, and then it ended in a C-section, and I was hospitalized with a cellulitis infection, and I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks. And so that was pretty rough being in the hospital, just having had a baby and being in the hospital and on all these antibiotics. And anyways, it was like just weeks of being sick after I had my first baby, maybe a couple weeks. Like then I had a yeast infection. It was just so crazy. It was so crazy. And I was so big. And I wasn't
yeah,
used to being so big.
yeah,
Um, and then, so what happened after that? Uh, and I wasn't really, I was nursing. I wasn't concerned at that point, even though I was so big and I didn't like how I looked. I wasn't really concerned with losing weight yet because I just had a baby.
yeah.
But then it seems like in the next following year, I believe I got up to 225.
Mm.
I believe
Yeah,
215,
5'4".
225, 5'4". I have a photo of it. I showed someone, they said I looked like a beach ball. Let's say I was between 215 and 225 and with my 1 year old. And I get pregnant again.
Mm. Now, how many kids do you have?
two, two,
Two. Gotcha. Yeah.
two. Jacob and Brianna. And, you know, recently on the carnivore diet, the sex drive goes up, and I was thinking maybe I should have another. The baby fever starts. You're going to edit this.
No, no, no.
No, I'm good. I'm not going to have any other babies. I'll be 40 in a
I
couple
want the
weeks.
world to hear that. No, it's good for your libido.
um,
That might be a song.
yeah.
But
So I want to say though, in May, my son was born in August. In May that year, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. I don't know how long I had it, but I'm sure it had something to do with the apparently traumatic experiences can destroy your thyroid. So I think that whole hospital experience
mm,
didn't help, and maybe it was the pregnancy itself. I don't know, but so I've had hypothyroidism for 7 years,
wow,
which makes it hard to lose weight. So anytime I tried my successful actions of like eating healthily, the weight didn't come off so easily. And I'm like, what's going on here? Why is this happening? Why is this not happening?
gotcha. So your pregnancies were pretty not much time between them.
No.
So from the
Mm-mm.
time you had the first baby to the time you had the second baby, there was not really any concern about losing weight. Really, it
No.
wasn't like
No.
no motivation. You went.
Funnily enough, I did lose weight in my second pregnancy because the eating was really hard. Like I could eat a lot in my first one, I couldn't eat a lot in my second one, so I did lose some weight, but I gained it all back afterwards. I gained more back afterwards because my diet was bad. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Okay, so now we've got our second child. You're now about what, 35, 36 now?
I'm 35, I think 34, 35. I think Jacob, I was 32 turning 33, and then Brianna was like 21 months later. 21 months after Jacob.
Yeah, I got you. So
Yeah.
now you got two kids. and
Yeah.
you're still heavy,
Yeah.
but not as heavy because you lost some weight.
Yeah.
Um,
I think at one point I actually got down to the weight I am now, and then I just crept back up.
right, right, right. So, at what point then did it become a concern to where you wanted to make some changes?
Often. When I got okay, several years ago, a couple of years ago, and I remember me and my husband have had several conversations like, how do we handle my weight? I remember many conversations where I'm crying about my weight, and thinking about it now, I don't know if it was really my weight I was crying about, but just being so. I hate to use the word depressed because I don't think that's what it was, but I was very upset with how I looked.
Was
I would
it
had a
more you? Were you the one that was more initiating these conversation, or was it him?
Oh, it was always me. He never cared about my weight. And it's very funny now because he's like, "Oh wow, you look so skinny." And but before he would never be like, "You're fat." He would never say you were fat and ugly or anything like that. Like he was always supportive. But then looking at pictures, he's like, "Oh wow, you were fat."
Yeah,
Like
I
you
got
can't
you.
tell at the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You were big. You were fat
yeah.
or you were big. But there was always he always supported me. It didn't matter my size.
So
But there were
you
conversations about like, how do I lose weight? I hate this. I hate being so big.
Gotcha. So you were struggling with it. He was, supportive in that, but you were now. Were you trying different things during this
Yeah.
time? Were you experimenting with different things? Because you had said that you had some success years before as a younger person, with Atkins and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
that didn't kind of come back to you later on in
It
life. Did you
literally
think
didn't.
about
It,
that?
it didn't like come back to me like at all. So I started doing keto, like I was following Dr. Berg for a long time. So
Mhm.
in my life, doing all these Atkinsy sort of things, vegetables were never like a big part of it ever. It
Right,
was, I would think I was almost carnivore anytime I lost weight, not knowing that that's really what I was doing. Or
right,
maybe like ketovore with lots of
mhm,
like green tea because that's good for you and vitamins and blah blah blah.
right,
So now I'm trying to eat like 10 salads. I'm trying to be a good keto person. I'm trying to eat like 10 salads a day. But when I ate pork, sometimes it would make me feel sick. Even now, sometimes if I eat too much, it makes me feel a little bit off.
mhm,
So I would stick to basically chicken, sometimes beef, and these salads. So I could only stick to that for so long before I would get stomach issues. And then
mhm.
I would have stomach issues and crave like carbohydrates. And so then I would just go off. And it was like this cycle that kept happening for years. And then finally I just gave up on the vegetables.
Yeah.
But then I would try again and then I would buy vegetables and waste it. There was so much wasted food because
Mm.
yeah, I tried juicing for a while, like
Yeah.
green drinks, and then I had like an explosion of pain in my stomach. Okay, that doesn't work. And
Yeah.
you think like, oh, you're cleansing your body of all these toxins. That's
Right.
why it hurts.
Yeah. Now,
No, no, no,
now,
no. The food is making it hurt.
now, were you doing that because you thought you needed them, or just because you liked them, or
Oh,
why were you?
yeah, I forgot it. But there's a book, and I have it on my shelf. It's called The Power of Your Metabolism by Frank Suarez. And he lists in there some protocol to like lose weight, which I also was not able to stick to. But part of that is juicing green drinks.
Hmm.
So it's just various things. And then one time I tried like a candida cleanse and I got down to like 189 pounds, put it back on really fast.
Yeah.
But that was basically like fish and salads and chicken breast for a month. You can't do that. You can't live off that.
Yeah. It's just it's hard to sustain. You know,
Yeah.
it's funny because I did the same thing. I went vegetarian for a little bit, but I grew up Seventh Day Adventist,
Oh,
so
wow.
vegetarian life was not anything new to me.
Okay.
Half my family is vegetarian anyway. Well, maybe not half, maybe 30%. And, I went to Seventh day Adventist boarding school. We didn't eat any meat there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't foreign. My family comes to my house for a big get together and it's mostly vegetarian for a few days. It's no big deal, um, for a couple of days or whatever. So I understand. But for all those years, I thought that fruits and vegetables were what were keeping me alive because I didn't have any health problems other than being heavy. I've
Okay.
never spent a night in the hospital. I've never taken a medication other than an antibiotic. I've never had aches or pain. I've never had any problems. I just was at a point where I couldn't physically hold my weight up at
Yeah.
almost 600 pounds.
That's
So,
crazy. Right. That's a
yeah,
lot of weight.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like my A1C even now, it's 5. My fasting glucose is 96. I mean, I don't have any of the stereotypical problems that a person my weight should have.
Yeah.
But, it's funny because I was juicing and I was eating fruits and vegetables and grains and all this stuff, and I was convinced that's the only reason I was still alive, because
Okay.
I was eating those things. And
Mhm.
if and that's why, for even though I heard of Atkins years before, and I had done it in a limited way with very limited success because I didn't really do it very long. I was petrified that I would develop those other problems in addition to being overweight.
Mhm.
So I was like, man, I don't have any problems, health problems that I know of other than being heavy. If I start pounding butter and bacon, I'm going to have heart problems. I'm going to have, these
Mm.
other
Mhm.
problems as well as being heavy. And,
Right.
I'm like, but I got to a point where I was like, I don't even care anymore. I'm going to die anyway. So who cares? Let's,
Mhm.
if I'm going to die, I'm going to die trying to fix it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand a little bit, doing all those vegetables and stuff, especially if you've been taught your whole life that you need them. You
Right.
know, you need them to live. You can't be healthy without fruits and grains and vegetables and lean meat.
Right. And
So
lean meat.
yeah, that was. I mean, I had the answer 20 years before and just had no idea.
Right.
When I think back on it. So you sounds like you went from keto to kind of keto four, and then ended up, in what when you do the carnivore. I use those terms with the family. Me,
Sure.
I'm a carb number guy. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's just simpler and easier for, especially for people who don't know. You'd be surprised how many people don't know what a carnivore is,
Right.
and they damn sure don't know what a ketovore is. So, and a lot of them, and I was talking about this earlier with somebody. You'd be surprised, maybe you wouldn't, how many people don't even understand what carbs are all the way. They just think of it
Right.
as sugar. It's like I'm trying to
Right.
explain to people that corn chips are high carb, and they're like, "Well, they're not sweet." Well, yeah, but they're grains, and I mean, there's
Mhm.
just so much out there that people, there's so much education that people need across the
Right.
board, to understand, just keto life. But uh, the 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 migration from keto to carnivore, how long did that take you? Like that
6 years.
how long?
6 years. No.
Okay, 6
Because
years.
I'm gonna say I tried to start my daughter. Okay, so she just turned 5. So let's say 5 years ago, I tried to start keto, and I kept on and off that bandwagon for years. And then I ran into Dr. Barry maybe like end of last year. And so, end of last year, I started doing a lot of research and listening to all of his videos. So, I decided to do the ketovore thing because I still needed those vegetables. And then I did that and I fell off that bandwagon in January. And then I started listening more and more about carnivore. And I'm like, okay. By the way, during the last 6 years, because I've lived in South America, I've had like IBS. So I thought that just had to do with me being in South America. It doesn't, because that should have resolved itself like years ago.
Yeah,
Um, I was never diagnosed with that, but I would have constant diarrhea, constant bowel issues, constant stomach problems. And maybe a little bit of it is getting used to being in a foreign country with different bacterias. But yeah, like 6 years, it should have resolved itself. So, um, how I was eating salads, no salads, crappy, it just kept me super inflamed. So,
mm,
um, listening to enough about carnivore, I was like, this is the solution. I know it is. And it's totally crazy. So, like thinking that it's crazy, like I'm gonna just do this now. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, I understand.
Or other people think it's crazy. I thought it was the perfect solution. I knew it was gonna work. And so, like a week into carnivore, March, maybe 2 weeks, all the IBS stuff was like totally resolved. My stomach was chilled out, and then I started losing weight like successfully, and I was so happy about that.
Yeah, no. I love that. 6 years. Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time, but like 8 months ago, I started thinking about it. Maybe I need to do this, but I was more thinking like, really, can people do that? Can people only just eat meat and be healthy? And I
Awesome.
had to listen to it enough.
You're absolutely right. I consider myself a ketogenic evangelist. I mean, that's what I am. You know,
Yeah,
like, I try to share this message with everybody, and
right,
especially people who don't know anything about it. You know, we a lot of what we do, we talk to ourselves. We just pat ourselves on the head. But I really try to reach people who don't know anything about this. People, I want to
right.
meet that
That's a
guy
good
that's
point.
eating 500 carbs a day like I was. I mean, those are the
Mhm.
people I want to be around. I mean, I love being with the family and supporting each other, and our community is wonderful. But really, man, I want to get out there and talk to the people who know nothing about any of this. And
Right.
there's so many millions of people. I mean, the hospital is filled with them. People
Mhm.
who are being told by their doctors to stop eating bacon and start eating, fruits and vegetables and grains. And I mean, it's just, those people I want to get to. But, I find it interesting that, as people get further and further into the life, it's like they forget about all their fears and all the how crazy it sounded to them when they first started. Uh,
Right. Right.
and and how people the other thing that I always found was really interesting was when you're talking to people in the family and they talk about the standard American doctors, that's what I call them. You talk about
Mhm.
standard American diet, standard American doctors. If you're talking to somebody and they say, "Well, my doctor told me that bacon's bad for me," and all that, we sometimes we'll get riled up like, "Well, your doctor's dumb," or "Your doctor's,"
Mhm.
I know somebody that said "F your doctor" one time on a live.
I wonder who that was.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I find interesting. Dr. Barry's our guy, or maybe it's Dr. Hampton or Chafee or Baker, or
Yeah.
there's so many doctors that we follow. And I was
Yeah.
telling somebody, if Dr. Barry came on and told us, "Hey, you got to stop eating briskets.
Right.
I've done some research, and briskets are bad for you. Don't eat them anymore."
Yeah.
Probably 75% of us will stop eating brisket. Why? Because
Probably.
our doctor told us, the
Yeah.
doctor we follow said,
Mhm.
"Don't eat it." And
Right.
we might think to ourselves, "Well, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, brisket, what's this?" But we'd probably not do it. So then
Right.
why is it we can't understand when that person's doctor is telling them, "Hey, this is gonna hurt you," that they
Right.
believe that? I mean, that's their doctor. They feel the same way
Right.
about their doctor that we feel about ours.
Right.
So it's like sometimes we lose sight of those things as we get deeper in. I hope I never, ever get deep or far enough into life that I forget those fears and those
Sure.
doubts
Yeah.
and how odd this sounded to me. And I'll be
Mhm.
honest with you, even now that I'm still doing it, I do it all the time. I live the life. And I still, in the back of my mind, think there's no way I could be getting all the nutrition I need from this. I'm serious. I still think it, even though I'm doing it.
Right.
It's like
Right.
today I had bacon and eggs, and then I had some salmon and steak later on. And I'm thinking when I'm finishing up my salmon and steak, there's no way that I
Yeah.
could be getting everything I need from bacon, eggs, salmon, and
Right.
steak. It just
Right.
gets
It's crazy.
it is. So
I
when I'm
mean,
dealing with other people, I'm always mindful of
sure.
that because it's
Sure.
even crazy even though I'm doing it, it still is
Yeah.
a little nutty to me.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, my husband is supporting me 100%, but even last night, he's listening to other doctors that I don't listen to. And he's like, look, I just want you to try eating some vegetables again, re entering some stuff in your diet. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'll eat an avocado. That's what he.
Well,
And I said, maybe I'll re enter them once I get down to my ideal weight. I don't want to change what's working for me right now.
yeah. Listen, I understand that people have to find their sweet spot, find where they're at.
Right.
For me, I can't, I just can't, at least not now, get to that zero carb number. I
Yeah.
can't get there. I'm very comfortable at 15. I do bounce back and forth. Like today was zero,
Yeah.
but tomorrow will most certainly not be.
Okay.
Because I just can't. I just I can't get there now. Now,
Okay.
ironically, 3 months ago or 4 months ago, I would say I ate lettuce and tomato every day,
Okay.
just about every day.
Okay.
Taco salad, man. I mean, I
Oh
was down
man.
to lettuce, tomato salsa, guacamole, sour cream. I was knocking it down.
I
And
was
then,
with you at that same time
sure.
doing that
But guess
months ago,
what?
a
I
year
haven't
ago.
had lettuce. Well, I had a hamburger
Okay.
yesterday. No, I had a hamburger Saturday. So I had lettuce and tomato on that burger. But that lettuce and tomato I had on that burger is the last lettuce and tomato I've had for probably 2 months.
Oh wow.
And I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
But I just decided, I'm going to try without it. I made some ground beef last week for the first time I think that I could ever remember in my entire life, literally in my entire life, that I ever had ground beef that I made it without peppers and onions.
Okay.
I mean, I've
Oh
had it
wow.
other, like at restaurants or something like that, but like in
Sure.
my house or in my house where I grew up or with my
Yeah.
family when my aunts made it or my grandmother made it, cooked it like at home. I can't think of one time ever in my life where my mom didn't make it that way or I didn't make it that way or my aunts or my grandmothers didn't make ground beef with onions and peppers in it.
Yeah.
It's just what you do.
Right.
The other day I said, "You know what? I'm gonna just spin the wheel here and do it a different way."
Yeah.
So, who knows 6 months from now what I'll be doing, um, or how I'll be going about it. But it's more important to me to do something I can sustain.
Right.
I
Right.
don't wanna be a yo-yo type. I don't wanna be going back and forth. I wanna do something that I know I can comfortably do for the rest of my life. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, that my numbers 15, 90% of the time,
Yeah.
it go to 30, a small percentage of the time, and it might go to 200 like it did the other day, but I live my life and I don't worry about it,
Mhm.
and I go right back. Like I said, yesterday was 100 some carbs, today is 0, and that's, where I'm at most of the time. So tell everybody, just we'll wind it down here. Since you've been, at 0 carbs, the
I mean, I'm
conversation.
not perfect, but
I understand, but
mostly,
that's your normal.
yeah.
Your normal
Yeah.
carb number is probably 5 or less. I mean, I would
Yeah, that's
say.
true. That's
And
true.
like with me, my number is 15, but my carbs come from sauces.
Okay.
Salsa, tomato sauce, Alfredo sauce, guacamole, sour cream. I get traces of carbs through those things. I only eat vegetables about 1 week a month. And I wouldn't even
Okay.
say 1 week. I'd say maybe 3 or 4 days. I'll make enough vegetables once a month to last me 3 or 4 days. I like them. I like eating them. I slather them with butter and salt, which I used to feel guilty about,
Yeah.
ironically. For years, I would slather my vegetables with butter and salt, and I would be like, oh, I'm ruining these vegetables with all this butter. But now I load them up. I have no guilt whatsoever now.
Yeah.
But in the time that you've been, close to 0 carb,
Yeah.
tell people just summarize the benefits that you've gotten um,
Sure.
from that.
Sure. So I've lost 30 pounds. So I went from like beach ball status and I look like I'm more normal sized and I like that. Let's see. My sleep is dramatically improved. Years of very bad sleep, which doesn't help your mental state. I feel a lot calmer. I'm still a spaz, as Russ knows, but I feel a lot calmer. So imagine a spaz that is like anxious. I don't want to say I had anxiety, but I was very anxious. No, things just seem like they go smoother. I'm able to deal with stuff easier and not freak out so easily. I'm working on not freaking out so easily on my kids, but let me just say this. People used to say that I had like the patience of a saint, and then I became a mom.
Yeah.
But no, overall, I feel a lot calmer. I used to feel like there was a lot of stress in my life, and I don't feel that anymore. And I think that has not. I can't say a steak changed my life, but I think by the proper nutrition, and now you can sleep, and now you can think clearly, think better and calmer. You know what I mean? I had terrible back issues for years. Had no idea it was food related. Chronic back pain. Uh, I was talking about the IBS gone in like a week. Again, not diagnosed. Um, I had hypothyroidism, and I even checked with the doctor today. I just did my tests again, and it looks like my thyroid after 7 years is in normal ranges. So it's so crazy that all this stuff is just happens. So that's a
Yeah.
summary.
Yeah,
But I
no,
think
well,
that
no, no, quickly, the family. How much
yeah.
of your family, your kids and your husband, how much are they doing this with you? How much are they doing their own thing? Kind of what's
Mm.
that story on that?
I would say like my kids are like 80%. We have fruit in the house. My daughter likes to eat salad, like not salads. She will eat some vegetables if we're out, but she loves like Kentucky Fried Chicken, and so does
You're
Jacob.
here.
And they love Frisbee, and she
I
loves
love it.
I can't think of the word in English. Coleslaw. She loves
Oh,
coleslaw, my daughter,
coleslaw.
and so do I. So she'll get
Yeah,
coleslaw.
I could do
They get
without I could do without coleslaw. But
they
yeah,
you
but
know
I
if
the
they're
KFC,
out.
the Colonel does
Oh yeah.
chicken right, brother. The Colonel is the man that people like
Yeah. Oh man,
Popeyes,
it's
and
so
I would
good.
eat a piece of KFC off the floor before I eat a piece of Popeyes chicken. I'm just telling you. Hey, listen, I'm I'm just being honest, man. The Colonel
Yeah.
is it. I
But
love it. That's
my
not
kids,
so
they
bad. I
eat
mean,
very good.
it's protein with the
Yeah.
breading is not the greatest, but
Yeah, exactly. And the coleslaw. I love a coleslaw. She loves it. But no, I would say they're like 80%. They're eating a lot better. But we have fruit in the house for them. We don't want to force it on them so
yeah.
much that they hate us for it.
Sure, sure. I think
Like
it's important for them to understand it though, to
yeah.
understand, what's going on so that they can make their choices. And then sometimes, yeah, you got to turn the sugar faucet off,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's enough,
Exactly.
you know.
Like uh my son was asking for ham. So we went and bought our steaks and stuff like that, but we bought some ham, we bought some like hot doggy sort of stuff, and that's what they ate today, and they were so happy to have like kids foods, you know what I mean? But they also my daughter's like, "Why did you buy the hot dog of chicken? Why didn't you buy real chicken? Because we don't buy chicken anymore. We don't like it." She's like, "It's more nutritious." So, it's good that
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
5-year-old is telling me that. So we're
Listen, it makes a big
educating her.
difference. It makes a
Yeah,
big I mean, I think about my childhood, I'm sure you could say the same thing. If my parents had the knowledge that we have,
right.
yeah, we'd have grilled more steaks and ate less ice cream,
Right.
you
Oh
know?
man, ice
I
cream night.
mean, yeah, so it's like anytime something was good, you did good, it's cake and ice cream or pizza or
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, it was just, the way things were, and if we'd, had done a little different, my certainly, I think my childhood and my adolescence and that would have been a lot different.
sure.
I mean, again, I don't blame them, it's
Mhm.
50 years ago. I mean, people don't even know about metabolic health now. So 50 years ago, it was even worse. Well, we're
What?
gonna wrap this what'd you say?
What? 50 years? I literally can't believe that. You look amazing. I
Oh,
I
you're
know
a
I'm not even
natural born.
joking. You look very young.
You're a
I know
natural
that
born.
you're big, but you don't look like you should be as old as you saying you are.
Well, I am actually 54 today.
Oh, okay. Okay. There you go.
Yep, yep,
So you're not
54
60.
today. Yeah, so there you go. But yes, but thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
you're
the nice
welcome.
compliment. You're very, very sweet.
And I'm not lying.
Um,
I really thought you were like in your 40s, but I should
oh,
have added up, like I said, the
look
math.
at all this look at all this gray. Look at all this gray in the beard, man. I'm old, man. I'm old. But thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Well, we're going to wrap up. Tell everybody where they can find you and what they can expect if they come to the Alia Wells channel.
They can find me at my Alia Wells channel on YouTube. I have an Instagram, and I'm not really there, and I'm also on Facebook, but that's not really talking about any of this. That shows my family, and you can find me and find some photos. But YouTube, let's see. I talk about my carnivore journey. I put videos up about food. I throw clothes at people when I lose weight. It's great. Yeah, you can find all that stuff there. I try odd foods that you shouldn't eat, like organs. I'm just joking. You should eat
Yeah,
organ meat.
yeah,
You
I've
find all
seen
that
some
stuff
of
on
those.
my channel
Yes, and you can
and the keto
also
cookout.
yes, you can also find her with me on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern at the Keto Cookout. We grilling, baby,
We
and
grilling, baby.
yeah, we have a lot of fun there. And so, hey, listen, I want to thank you so much, Ali, for spending the time with me this evening. And folks, I want to
Hmm.
thank you for watching this episode of Keto Conversations. We are so much more than the food we eat. We're much more than our illnesses and our sicknesses and our medical problems. And so we just try to bring you folks and go dig a little deeper, find out who they are as people, not just what they eat. and bring you their stories as well as their lives so you can get to know them and realize they're just regular everyday folks like you and me who are trying to find better health and wellness and who have found it through ketogenic living. So stay tuned, as always, to my channel for the next episodes. We got some great episodes coming up. And thank you for watching this episode of Keto Conversations. I wish you all the best, and we will see you on the next one.